Welcome students to class 11 English classes conducted by your English teacher Monica Kaur. Before I start snapshots, please I request you all to like, share and subscribe my channel, and for other notifications please ring the bell icon. Chapter 5, Mother's Day, Part 1. Hello students, welcome back once again to class 11 English classes. Students, today we are going to take a look on the snapshots chapter number 5, Mother's Day, written by J.B. Priestley, part 1. In this chapter, students, today we are going to see about the author, the outline and 2 pages summary with the related vocabulary. Okay, so shall we start? Okay. Students, actually the title itself tells us so emotionally connected with this word, mother. Mother is a person who brought us in this world. Mother is the person who unconditionally do everything else what we want. Mother is that person whom we relied on at any situation. But sometimes do we think, or yes, this is true that we take our mothers as granted. I hope that you people all agree with me that we take them for granted. In somewhere else, by growing up, when we got independency, when we people got maturity, somewhere else we people forget that this is the person who always been behind us when we people needed her. And even we people forget to ask or to tell that how much we love her. This chapter somewhere else take up the issue that is being against the women position in the society. This chapter is written by J.B. Priestley in 1950. In the Western countries, the condition of the women was really very, very bad. They were being exploited by the men department. They were being a subject of attraction, consumption and slavery only. This chapter somewhere else tells us that to bring the generation in the world, they don't require their part of that respect and regards? Is every time every mother has to ask for her regard and respect in the society? A question mark is through this play coming on our thoughts. Okay, so this was the outline. Let's talk about now the author of this chapter, J.B. Priestley. J.B. Priestley was born on 13 September 1894. 13 September 1894 in United Kingdom. Means he was really a very good playwright, a very good English novelist. He used to write the whole of the books with his pen name that is called Om. And you know that Om is a Hindi version. But he was an English playwright, writer, as well as he was a great script writer. Not only this, he was a social commentator and a broadcaster also. Okay, this man with a lot of faces, with a lot of talent, who actually prescribed the society with those issues which never been touched even in the Western countries. He died on 14 August 1984 in Stratford, United Kingdom. The era of this writer end, but still we people have his writings preserved with us. Let's talk about now, students, the characters he had displayed us in this that play. Somewhere else this is a fictitious play, but it raises the real issue during that period in 1950 in Western countries. And he raised the issue through a mother, through a wife, through a daughter-in-law who was facing a lot of scoldings, a lot of lashes because of her gender only. The characters are like this. Mrs Annie Pearson, the main character or the protagonist of the story, who weave all the next characters with herself. Another character in this story is very important, that is George Pearson, her husband. Then Dorris Pearson, her daughter. Cyril Pearson, her son, and her most important support system, and as well as an encouragement system in a friend and neighbor, Mrs Fitzgerald. Mrs Fitzgerald was not only her friend or not at all her well-wisher, but she was a tarot card reader also. The play starts with this thing, that these two ladies were sitting at Mrs Fitzgerald's house, and they were talking about their lifestyles. Mrs Pearson were almost of near about 40 years of age. She was a very simple, kind, down to earth, and a sober and a quiet lady. But Mrs Fitzgerald was opposite to her. Mrs Fitzgerald was older than Mrs Pearson. Mrs Fitzgerald was little bit stout. Mrs Fitzgerald was very much extrovert. Mrs Fitzgerald was straightforward, blunt lady, and she knew how to live for her respect in this male dominating society. So here the play starts. Mrs Fitzgerald was talking about the generalization of the position of the women in the society. She was telling Mrs Pearson that it was only in the hands of individuals to make their fate or to break their fate, destiny. And if you students remember that we people have talked about one such fateful person, Hannah, if you people remember, Kanasuke, Panasonic owner who was uneducated, who was too poor, but one day, because of his determination, because of his hard work, because he wanted to change something in himself, what he did, that one day he became owner of a great company. So it's the fate in the hands of only individual to become or to ruin oneself. So she was telling her that to live they need to be stronger. Mrs Pearson was really very much grateful to Mrs Fitzgerald for her wise advices to her. Suddenly Mrs Pearson asked her, because she was seeing that Mrs Fitzgerald was flashing out some of the cards. Those cards were student not at all that playing cards, those were that tarot cards. She was actually collecting those cards and then flashing it up, and then there she was playing with it. Suddenly Mrs. Pearson asked her that whether she had learned whole of this tarot card reading art in the East. So Mrs. Fitzgerald told her yes, she had. Okay. And she told her that she was for 12 years lived there in the East with her husband, and there her husband was that getting promotion as a lieutenant, as a lieutenant quartermaster. And there not only she but her husband also learned this art. And then she told her about this thing, that if a woman is skillful to handle the family members, then her self-respect would have been restored in the family. She was telling Mrs. Pearson that she needs to work on her strategies as a mother and as a wife, so that she became boss of the house rather than a slave of the house or a servant of the house. Okay. Then Mrs. Pearson very humbly, smiling, asked her that she knew her position in her house. And then also she was giving her advice like that. It was really very difficult for a person like Mrs. Pearson to change herself or to bring a difficult time in the life of her family, because she could bear all the difficulties herself, but she never wanted her family to be there with that difficulties. Then Mrs. Pearson was trying to convey her part of thought. Suddenly, when Mrs. Fitzgerald stopped her and told her that she knew it very well. She knew that her position, but then also she should learn to make her family respect her. It is her that point of view, it is her actions that provide her a logic, self-respect in her family, in that male dominating that society. Suddenly Mrs. Pearson asked her the way of means getting that self-respect. And then Mrs. Fitzgerald told Mrs. Pearson, there is surely a way, and that way no doubt is in her only, because she spoiled her husband, she spoiled her daughter, she spoiled her son by means taking their orders and orders. She was working like a servant at her own house, but no one ever tried to ask her her wishes, her desires. They all are busy in their own life spaces. They all are working. They all are really very happy. They all are enjoying going outside, means somewhere else they are going to the club, playing and entertaining, but no one else were looking towards Mrs. Pearson's that monotonous life. Why? Because it was Mrs. Pearson who never made them realize it, that she is also a part of them. She is also a part of that family, because she never ever say anything to them. She never complains to them. She never says anything to them. That is the big reason. That's why she is the sufferer. She should knew how to say no if she did not like it. And that's how she is going to make them realize that she is also a part of them. Okay, Mrs. Fitzgerald told her that that she needs to learn how to tackle the situation that already she only has ruined it. She is the major reason for her self exploitation in her own family. Okay, then suddenly Mrs. Pearson asked her that asking self-respect, is it okay? Then Mrs. Fitzgerald told her, why not? If someone is not realizing that what they are doing it, telling them or conversing with them is not at all a bad idea. Tell them how important Mrs. Pearson is in their life. And then Mrs. Pearson told Mrs. Fitzgerald that he hated to make the life difficult of her family. She has already spent a lot of years like that only, and if now she would going to change, that would going to bring a lot of change, not in her life but in her family's life. And really she does not want that to be happen. Suddenly when she was telling her point of view and she saw a watch, it was by that time it was an evening and it was a time for her family to get back to the home. So she abruptly got up from her seat and get out of Mrs. Fitzgerald's house to be there before her family reaches the home. It shows us, students, that Mrs. Pearson herself does not want to change. No one would going to change you if you are not ready to change yourself. If you are rigid in your thoughts, if you are rigid in your rules, so then no one will going to save you from that exploitation. It is you who only will going to ask for yourself. I hope, students, this part of this video could have been given some kind of the advice to you. I will be coming back with my another video, guys. So by that time, take good care of yourselves, okay? But before I leave, what we have to do, yes, just recognize the vocabulary, related vocabulary. The first vocabulary is suburban. Suburban. Suburban means outskirts of a city. Now, how you will make a sentence of it? Mrs. Pearson and family were living in a villa that they had built in suburban area. Okay? Next is obliged. Obliged means grateful. Mrs. Pearson was obliged, or you may write like this: Mrs. Pearson was really obliged for Mrs. Fitzgerald's very nice advices. Okay, I hope you must have understood this video. So students, what you have to do, please like, share and subscribe my channel. With that, what you have to do, students? Yes, you have to ring the bell icon for my further notifications. Okay, bye students. Take good care of yourselves. These are the 2 questions from the summarized paragraphs as an assignment 1.